Well, my next guest is the Senior Vice President of Research at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies and an expert on all things Middle East. Please welcome Dr. Jonathan Schanzer. Dr. Schanzer, it's really timely for you to be here. So much happening in the Middle East, and yet there's also so much happening beyond the Middle East and Israel. Anti-Semitism is at a peak that we haven't seen since the Holocaust. Why?
Well, we're seeing really a concerted and organized movement that I think started on campus. It's spilled out onto Main Street America. It's certainly all over social media. And I keep coming back to one group that I first testified about before Congress in 2016. I shared that information with two different committees. Nothing happened. And then all of a sudden, we saw them burst onto the scene after 10/7. And they are the people that are the driving force behind the campus protests, this wave of anti-Semitism.
And who is this group? Because somebody's paying for this stuff. I mean, the kids are showing up on campuses, but they've got nicely printed signs. They have uniformly well-made tents that they sleep in. I mean, that's not organic.
It's not organic. It's not spontaneous. The group is called American Muslims for Palestine, or AMP. They're based in Falls Church, Virginia. They used to be based in Bridgeview, Illinois. But what's really interesting about them is that a number of their leadership used to work for charities that were shut down in the United States for Hamas finance. There were three different groups, one of which I worked on when I was a Treasury terror finance analyst in the early 2000s during the Bush administration. We shut down all three of these charities. And somehow some of the lower level individuals, the lower level employees, have come back together. They got the band back together again, and they're now heavily involved in the campus protests. We see them literally at University of Pennsylvania, George Washington University, Columbia University, Berkeley. We see them all over the United States right now, and they're holding the microphone, they're leading the chants, and they are behind a lot of the chaos that we're seeing right now on campus.
So that's the organization. Who finances them? Who gives them that money? Because there's some big money in this.
Well, that's the interesting thing. I don't know if it's big money. The organization doesn't claim to have a large budget. And if you think about it, what do these students need, right? I mean, they need pizza, they need some tents. We're talking about a few $1,000s here. Now, I think the real question is the organization itself. How big are they and how much are they active on each one of these campuses? Students for Justice in Palestine was created by AMP. When it started back in 2006, there were only a handful of SJP chapters. Today, there are more than 250 across the United States. This was a serious grassroots effort that took place over the course of about 2 decades.
I don't understand. I mean, college kids are supposed to be smarter than this. But they've apparently been sold and brainwashed on the idea that Israel is an apartheid country, that it's brutally attacking people who are Palestinian, which is a made-up term from 1962 and Arafat. So how are they so effective in persuading these college kids that they're on the right side of history when they are clearly on the wrong side of history?
You know, I grapple with that all the time because when you see the sorts of things that they say, the kinds of anti-Semitic remarks that come out of their mouths, the signs that are calling for intifada, which is basically calling for an armed uprising, the idea that you can get away with this in today's day and age is shocking to me. The fact that they've ignored the slaughter of 1,200 people on October 7th, they've ignored the rape of Israeli women, the killing of Israeli children, I still struggle with it.
Dr. Schanzer, I think what you're doing is incredibly important. I hope you'll continue to root out the sources of the money. Who's paying for this? Why are they doing it? Is it coming from Iran, from Qatar? Somebody's got to be writing some checks to make this stuff happen. And I hope a lot of parents will say to their children, we're not sending you to a school that thinks this stuff is okay. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you'll go to Huckabee.tv and click on, absolutely, give him a good hand. He's doing the Lord's work for sure. If you go to Huckabee.tv, if you click on Dr. Schanzer's guest page, you can follow the latest news on the activities that he's working on all of our behalf.